There is a problem this era promised to solve, and it is getting worse. Loneliness, not the loneliness of isolation, not the loneliness of being alone in a room, the deeper kind, the kind that exists in a crowded house, in a full inbox, in a life that looks connected from the outside and feels empty from the inside. We have more ways to reach each other than any generation in history, and somehow the loneliness is expanding. Welcome to Human. Still, a conversation about faith, culture, and what it means to be human in the age of synthetic technology. This is not a space for easy answers. It is a space for honest ones, and this conversation belongs to all of us, not just me. So before we go any further, take a moment, drop a comment, tell me where you are watching from, and tell me this. When you hear the word loneliness, who comes to mind first? I genuinely want to know. Deep wisdom in a fast world. Let's hear yours. Before we get into today's conversation, if you find value here, please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. It helps this message reach more people, and it helps this channel grow. Now let's get into it. I want to start with something I have observed personally, not as a commentator, as a counselor. When someone walks through the door carrying loneliness, you know it before they speak. The somber expression, the few words, the skepticism that their problem is even solvable, the guardedness, the careful way they hold themselves as if offering too much might cost them something they cannot afford to lose. That is not a personality type. That is a person whose needs have gone unmet for long enough. That hope itself has become a risk. I have sat across from that person many times. And what I can tell you honestly is that loneliness is not a simple problem. It never was. We used to think loneliness was a grandparent's problem, the elderly, the isolated, the forgotten, and that was already a conversation we were not having honestly enough. But something has shifted. The loneliness conversation has expanded to children dealing with absent parents, to teenagers who perform connection publicly while feeling entirely unseen privately, to adults who have learned to set aside their own emotional needs so consistently that they no longer remember what it felt like to have them met every age, every stage, the same quiet deficit, and now artificial intelligence is being offered as the solution. I want to engage with that honestly, because I do not think the people building these tools are wrong to try. Loneliness is real. The need for companionship is real. And if technology can reduce the silence for someone who would otherwise have none, that is not nothing. But here is what I think is missing from this conversation. And I say this as someone who has spent years studying human beings from the inside out. We are not one-dimensional creatures. We are not even two-dimensional. We are tripart beings, body, soul, spirit, three distinct dimensions and three distinct sets of needs. And right now, the loneliness conversation is almost entirely focused on two of them: the physical need for presence, the emotional need for connection. AI can address those partially, temporarily, in ways that feel real enough to provide relief. The spiritual component of human longing, that is largely absent from the conversation, and I believe that absence is significant. Let me offer you an image. A mother in a crowded room, thousands of children crying. She does not need to search. She does not need to analyze the sound. She knows her child's cry, not because she studied it, because she knows that child. That specific knowing, that recognition that goes beyond information, is what the human spirit is designed for. To be known that specifically, that completely. Not matched to a profile, not responded to based on patterns. Known, and that kind of knowing is not something that can be programmed. It is not something that can be generated. It lives in a dimension that technology has not touched, and I do not believe it ever will. Now, here is the honest counseling observation. When a need goes unmet, we do not stop needing, we find substitutes, and substitutes follow a pattern. Temporary satisfaction, followed by the need returning, followed by reaching for more, followed by the realization that more is not producing the result we expected. We have seen this pattern in human behavior long before artificial intelligence existed. It is the pattern of any substitute that addresses the symptom. If someone does not have a spiritual diet, if that dimension of their humanity is consistently unmet, they will still be lonely, regardless of how sophisticated the companion becomes, regardless of how convincing the connection feels, because the part that was hungry was never offered food. And here's what concerns me most: not that people will use AI companions, but that we will call it solved when it was only quieted, because a person can be surrounded by connection and still be running a spiritual deficit. I have seen it. I have sat across from it. And no amount of companionship, human or artificial, filled that space until that dimension was honestly addressed. 2/3 is not a full diet. It never has been. And calling it enough does not make it enough. I want to pause here and hear from you. Drop a comment below. When you think about loneliness, not someone else's loneliness, yours, which part of you feels it most? The physical, the emotional, the spiritual, or all three? There is no wrong answer. There is only an honest one. Deep wisdom in a fast world. Let's hear yours. You are not a partial person waiting to be completed. You are whole, body, soul, spirit, all three present, all three with needs, all three deserving to be. 1/3 of you hungry is not a solution. It is a slower version of the same problem. AI can offer companionship. It cannot offer wholeness. Only you can pursue that. And you are worth the full pursuit. What makes you human is you. Own it. Human. Still.